Hello, and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to get new episodes delivered to your inbox each week. I'm your host, Rachel Thomas, editor at SME Media. I'm joined today by Brittany Rodriguez, technical professional for advanced polymer composites at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, so we're here today to talk about, Brittany's career journey thus far. She, again, is a technical professional at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and she's also in 2025 SME 30 Under 30 Honoree, which is an annual program where we highlight amazing, people transforming the manufacturing industry when they're, so early in their career or their students or things like that. So it's, again, great to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here again. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah. So I would like to know, kind of going to your early days. I know you're pretty early in your career still, but going back to maybe your schooling or even as a child, a teenager, have you always been interested in a career in manufacturing?
No, actually, I didn't get into engineering or manufacturing until my second year of college. So originally, I had the notion or the thought of doing business and pursuing a business degree. And so I kind of did that route when I was in high school. Then after high school, I went straight into college, and then I started with an international business degree. And although it was great and the classes were, very informative and stuff like that, it just didn't feel like I was putting in as much work as I wish I could have, and I wasn't putting in the skill sets that I had. So kind of asked around and, kind of went soul searching, talked to a couple of people and figured stuff out. And my mom just so happened to work for the manufacturing department. She was the admin. And so she was just kind of like, hey, I think you would be super good at this field. And like, I see the people, the people I work for and what they do and the stuff that they um, manufacture and like teach and all this stuff. So she's like, I think you do really good with that. And obviously, this is a mom's, a parent's tale. So you're going to think, of course, you have to say that you're my mom. But I went ahead and took an intro course to the manufacturing engineering there at my university where I graduated from, which is the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. And I that semester I was still taking my business courses, took that intro course, and while I was in that intro course, the professor there, Dr. Edna Rosco, she was very close with me and working with me there, and I had everything that was in that class, which is kind of an overview of what the next 4 years would be. Um, was just so interesting to me. It was so fun. Like I would look forward to all the homeworks and all the classes and everything that you could learn from there. So I just kind of knew that was where I wanted to be, and that's when I made the switch. And that was about 2019 is when I did that switch, and then I did another 4 years for graduation until I graduated there. So it did take me a little while to get there, but I guess I would say that I'm pretty glad that I was able to kind of take the leap to the even taking the intro course just to see a little peek of it. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, so in that case, your moms always know best. So
Moms know best, they do.
yeah, now kind of looking back, because you said your mother worked for in manufacturing and everything. Was there at any point looking back, like with her career, that you noticed, like, oh, this is something, that I would want to do, or just like instilling some of the things that she had in her career into your career path?
So to kind of clarify, my mom wasn't. I'm a first generation. So I am the first one with the degree. So my mom worked as the administrative assistant. So she did a lot of like the logistics of the purchasing, the traveling, stuff like that. But it was just seeing the type of courses that the professors teach and kind of just talking to the professors and getting to know them and their work is how she sort of learned or what they did. And she didn't know in depth to it. But to be honest, I'm pretty sure she would try to bring me in this direction from the very beginning, from the get-go, probably as early as, like, uh I would say elementary school years because I love puzzles and like problem solving and just kind of like my maths and the sciences and all that stuff. And it was something that she knew and always tried to feed to me. But I just kind of never grasped that until way, later on. And so I think that from her journey as well, because she didn't get to finish school the way that she wanted to and stuff like that. It was sort of we learned together in this case because she was like, I would like for you to finish properly your schooling and stuff like that. And I think that is how she sort of kept me going in the educational route, at least in a higher education. So she was very supportive on the business aspect of things. It's just that when it came to me struggling with what I wanted to do, she kind of already had the solution because she saw it from the beginning.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's amazing. So, Brittany, I was going to ask about, joining Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Is this your first position from graduating college?
Yes, actually, it is. So I am very honored to be at Oak Ridge National Lab. I think as a first job is very interesting and very fun. And I believe that there is no place like Oak Ridge or even in any research labs. I think it's a different beast in and of itself compared to if you went into industry or straight into industry or if you stayed in academia for a good while and then went here. But I do love the blend of academia, like the academic research, but also we do have a lot of industry collaborators who we get to do sort of production style facilities. So it's super fun.
Yeah. How did you become familiar with Oak Ridge?
I back in my university at UTRGV, there was a professor there who was the director of a consortium. So we had a couple of labs and a couple of universities together that would sort of send students out to these labs. ORNL being one of them, and of course my university being the main one there. But that professor was looking for students. And so, we applied and did all this stuff. And when he reached my resume and my application, he was like, hey, I think you'd be a good fit. And was like, please rank the labs that you would like to go to, except put Oak Ridge as your first one. And I said, okay. So I'm going to Oak Ridge. And that was kind of my introductory to Oak Ridge National Lab. I hadn't really heard about it beforehand. I lived in this, born and raised in Edinburgh, Texas, which is very, very southern tip of Texas. And to say it's a sort of a community and it's a world in and of itself is one thing. Yes, we have a little bit of branches out here and there, but I feel like the world was a little small there. So when he kind of introduced the Oak Ridge National Lab to me, I was like, okay, I mean, it sounds cool for an internship. I can do it for a couple of weeks and then I'll come back and then I'll start looking in Texas or whatever if there's anything here in my hometown. Um, and not to say I didn't have a choice. I absolutely did have a choice whether I wanted to be here or not, but it just felt like the right way. I've never thought of going away from working here at Oak Ridge or like coming to the internship. And so I agreed to it and I was totally fine with it and looked into a little bit of what the work that was being done here because, again, no knowledge. And when you get the offer letter, whatever, it tells you kind of the project that you're going to be working on. And with that project, I was able to get the name of the mentor and the facility and stuff like that. So looked into it way beforehand and started researching that portion, which was composites, and then I started branching off to the other things that we do in our facility, like in Oak Ridge National Lab, and that was just like a eye opening thing. And of course, at the same time, because I was actually I was about to graduate, so as normal people do is we start looking for jobs right after graduation during the senior year. So I was looking for jobs and I was applying and hearing back and interviewing and all this stuff, and it was a real back and forth on whether I wanted to do this internship or if I wanted to get a job. But because I had done that research into the different things that ORNL has to kind of offer and like what they research, to me it was just a no-brainer. Like, I can do one thing for a good amount of time, or I can do several different things in this one span of time. So that's how I got myself into Oak Ridge. I did an internship, and I did that. The came in for the summer of 2023. Um, and then from there, because I had already graduated university and got my bachelor's degree, my mentor had asked if I was okay with extending. I believe the work that I was doing was pretty good, and the projects that I was working on were continuing, and so I felt like it would be sort of neglectful if I just said like, "Oh, no, I'm gonna go back home," but I had the opportunity to continue on. So I did, and I ended up extending until December of 2023. And within that time frame is when I kind of, you know, came in the works and started talking about it with my mentor and the group leader about getting hired on. Because again, I have my bachelor's degree. I am an engineer now, and so being paid as a student was kind of like, um, not ideal for me. So, of course, advocating for myself, and then naturally the wheels started turning, and then I got hired on January of 2024.
Nice. Yeah, it's always amazing when you can, take an internship experience or just that work-based learning and be able to, transition right to that full-time job.
Agreed. Yeah, it's very smooth. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm glad this is how it turned out.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned a little bit about the projects that you worked on as an intern, but could you elaborate more on that? You said you're working on composites.
So for the projects that I worked on, the main one that I did for the summer, which was a 10-week program, is the um to remember it. It was a while ago now, but it was essentially the understanding the fiber orientation in long injection molded parts. So we kind of had a plaque of material. So this one was glass fiber ABS, I believe. And so that's we had a solid block there, rectangular plaque that was about 33 millimeters thick, and I want to say it was like a foot long. And so what we wanted to see is the relationship between the mechanical properties and the fiber alignment that's within there. So I was able to learn this new software that is able to take XCT scans, X-ray scans of the samples that we gave them, and then create a digital rendition of them. And the software is able to do its magic, and it creates a center point within the fibers and aligns them through each slice. So we had about like 2,000 slices, or images, if you want to call them, and then it interpolates them and then creates the fiber there, and you get to see all the alignment there. And so with that one, you were able to see the different structures in there. So it kind of had a skin, a, a shell, and a core, and then repeating that up on top, pattern to them. And we learned that throughout the entire, uh, like the longer you go on the plaque, the better alignment you had in the flow direction, which when you have a unidirectional flow, the stronger your composites usually. So I was able to learn hands-on the effects of the fiber orientation and the porosity that's within these plaques, if any, and then do the whole story of testing them and getting the values of tensile or your flexural tests like that. So it was really cool introductory to composites, because essentially the only experience I had was with my senior design. I did a tabletop protrusion process. And with that one, I didn't do too much digging into the composites. We did fiber reinforced polymers, but it was sort of kind of just for me, it was more of a machining, CAD modeling type of work that I focused on. And then my group member did the other portion of it, which was the material and stuff like that. So it was very interesting to see all that stuff, and kind of rounding out the whole story from my senior design to actually understanding the composites when I got in here.
Yeah, so and it's cool that you mentioned how you were able to work on composites and get the full understanding of it from, your senior design project to your internship and now where I believe you specialize in advanced additive manufacturing of thermoplastic polymer composites. So what was that transition like kind of going more into, now you're working specifically in additive manufacturing with this work?
I would say that thankfully during my undergrad, I was able to kind of get a foundational knowledge on a lot of things that I work here. So, one thing I love working on is 3D printing. And so we have small scale, like small lab scale, or your normal desktop printers to prints that are about 20 feet long. Printers that are 20 feet long, and so forth. Like the drastic change of your small scale to large format additive, you have your basic knowledge in them, and usually you're able to scale it up. But there's a little bit of tweaks and things that you have to kind of learn as you go. But I would say that the transition was fairly smooth. Just because we did learn a little bit of 3D printing during my undergrad and slicing softwares and sort of like G code was also one of the things that we learned on there during my bachelor's. And so it was fairly smooth. And thankfully, we have Orenel is the pioneer for format additive manufacturing. And so we have people here who are, experts to this. So me getting a mentor for this was also smooth. And I believe that I was able to ask questions. And as an intern, there's one thing I will always say is that they never made me feel like an intern, where it's like, oh, you're just an intern. Maybe you can do the easy things. They definitely tried to implement me in my ideas and things that I had to offer right off the bat. So I think that's another reason why I enjoyed it so much and why I decided or wanted to stay here longer was because I was technically already a part of the team um, from the get go.
Yeah, no, can you elaborate more on how Oak Ridge is a pioneer in that large formatting additive manufacturing?
Yeah, so there is this with Cincinnati. There is this one printer called the Big Area Additive Manufacturing (BAM). So that was made here in ORNL in our facility, at the manufacturing demonstration facility. So we partnered with a whole bunch of different companies, and we had so many different people that were working on this case. But that large scale additive machine was from us. And it came out from this, uh, facility.
That's so cool, yeah. Is there now looking at what you're currently working on, is there anything you can share about that current research or project you're working on?
Yeah, so I think one of the most interesting ones that we've done recently, and it's out there and it's public if anyone wants to look at it, but we have a company known as Kairos Power who is here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, that has their site here and wants to make modular reactors. Um, and they have a standard way of making this as of right now. And it's very time consuming and lots of metal goes to it. And with metals, it's heavier and it's cost a little bit more. So your total cost with all of that work is skyrockets and your timeline is super long. So when it comes to the composites, one of the things that we did with our large format additive manufacturing printers is that we were able to make molds for concrete pouring. So we did a part, and I believe this was about a year ago where we officially did this. We had essentially it was a four-piece mold that we printed, our longest being in 12 feet length, 6 foot tall, and about, I believe, another 6 foot wide. So we made about four of these. When you bring them together, you kind of clamp them together, align them, of course, and everything, and then you pour concrete. You let that concrete settle and cure, and then you're able to take those molds off and reuse them again. stack it up on top of the other one, and then just continue the process. So we demonstrated those 3D printed molds being able to withstand all those pressures, the pouring, the rigging, the taking off, the putting on, the modularity of it. We were able to prove all of that. And we made an 18-foot structure that's there in their site, in their facility, which was super, a game changer for these types of structures, because now your turnaround was, I believe we did all of that in 18 days, or it was just a small amount from ideation to final product. We did it in such a short time. But if that doesn't show you how beneficial these additive manufacturing, can provide, then I don't know what does. Like, it was so cool, so interesting, because it was such a large structure. And they were handled, I will say, on site, because I was able to go on there and see them put on these molds and take them off. They were handled very roughly, and they survived all of that.
Yeah, wow, 18 feet, and like you said, in less than 3 weeks,
Yes,
that's
and
impressive.
very impressive. And that was just demonstration piece. So that was only half of what we were originally intended to do. This was just kind of to demonstration. They wanted to put it as like a gate. This is what people would see before they fully enter the site. The whole thing is about 40 feet, I would say, roughly. And we have been able to work on that, and that's the thing that we're working with Kairos to do that part of it. So very cool stuff that we worked with them on.
Yeah, either with this project with Kairos or just any other, like, research or projects you're working on, what other opportunities would you say there are for, innovation in this specific type of additive manufacturing?
Um, well, innovation is limitless, I would say. As long as you've got an idea, you can keep going. That is just one of many of the projects that I've worked on. I think that was just the most um groundbreaking one to me, that I was able to, be a part of. And so there's other things that we work on. We work in the automotive industry. We work with, structural things. We work with the aerospace industry, and they range from big scale as those molds to small scales as we've made a multi-material energy absorber for a car, a vehicle. And this is one that we did, one of our industry partners as well, that was crash tested. So essentially we 3D printed the energy absorber that goes behind the bumper of a car. And that one was in a way that we wanted to make it for it to be able to withstand a impact. So we used material that was able to withstand it. However, we used another material blended in with it that was also able to kind of bounce back whenever it was impacted. So instead of it just crumbling after impact or force or load, it would sort of bounce back, and then you wouldn't lose your entire bumper. You wouldn't lose, all of that. And at the same time, you wouldn't fully hurt the pedestrian, because it was a pedestrian crash test. You wouldn't fully hurt the pedestrian. So that was also a very interesting moment that we did, that we played with the material, as well as the lattice design on it, because that is also what's going to compress or, control the compression or control the tension on it while it's being impacted. So the full story of that, we have a couple of publications out with it. It's very interesting as well, to see and work with. That I think was my first introduction to night shift and long prints, because I think these were about 26 hours per bumper.
It really puts into perspective, like you said, it's limitless what 3D printing, like how you can use additive manufacturing to create virtually anything.
Yes. Yeah, and I think another thing with, now that a lot of people do know 3D printing and a lot of people own desktop printers, is how you can take any object that you have and print it. I think it's great, and reverse engineering it and CAD modeling that, slicing, that is all a skill to use, not just at home, but in any other place. Again, we use that so much here in this facility, that and it's not only plastics, we also have the capabilities of metal 3D printing. It's not my wheelhouse, but we have several people that are able to do that here, um, which is very great and interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm curious, with the projects that you've gotten to work on with Oak Ridge, are there any, common concerns or challenges or, just customer concerns that you guys have come across or tried to, solve with your research?
Um, I, I think I can say this with confidence is the money. Um, when you're able to drive down costs and create something that keeps the properties of your original work or your standard manufacturing processes, if you're able to keep everything essentially the same, however lower those costs, you kind of, that is a great solution and that you can give, especially to our industry partners. And I feel like that's a common thing that a lot of them come with is like, okay, how can we shut off, yeah, I'm going to give an example. How can we shut off like 50 pounds of this and still get our mechanical properties? How can we still get this force applied to it and not lose, our structure or whatever? Um, a lot of that seems to be the problem. And we are usually able to provide a solution with the machines that we have here. Another one I would say is, okay, we have this process. How do we optimize it? How can we shorten this cycle time? How can we, take a step out of it and, still have a good part at the end? So process optimization is another one that we definitely run into a lot. But I would like to say that there's so many unique problems out there for the industry that it's not one size fits all. And it's always very interesting to talk to these companies and see what they're trying to look for. Some of them even like are interested in not giving, but they loan out their machines out to us and they put it on our floor so that we can sort of um test it to failure or test it to see, what they can fix and work on and so on and so forth. So, Juggerbot 3D is one of our partners that we work with, and we have one of their systems in on our floor. We've maxed it out an insane amount of times, whether it's, motor speed, RPMs, it's the payload capacity that's on there, the amount, the size of the part that's on there. We've done so much that at one point, one of the engineers was like, "We've never had a person call us this much for like to fix these things." But again, they learn from it, they fix it, and they have a better machine to when they give out to their customers. So again, there's so many different ones, but it's always great that we are able to somewhat find a solution for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what you were saying before, especially with all of the opportunities for automation. It's really about, and what I've seen in my reporting, how can we, maintain the quality while, finding ways to kind of shave off those operating costs. Absolutely. So, what are you looking forward to most as you continue on in your career at Oak Ridge or just in general? Like, what are you excited about for the industry and your role?
That's a really good question. Every day I think there's always something different that's here and a new sort of goal that I get to reach. So the goalpost kind of just keeps moving as I go along, but I would definitely like to be more of a lead on projects and maybe even come up with a solution, the ideation process and go from idea to reality with either a company or with just even ourselves, like in our facility and in our industry, to do that. And, the best way to do that for me is to continue collaborating with the people that I work with now and people in other groups and outside, networking with, such people as yourselves and so on and so forth, other um industry people could to stay on top of innovation, stuff like that. But I think that my next steps would be taking a little more responsibility on machines and kind of learning what capabilities we can either add on to current machines or if it's making or utilizing a new system, in our place. I think that would be my next step or what I would really like to do um, in this case.
Yeah. No, that absolutely makes sense as the next step in your career, and that's really exciting for sure. Um, going back to we were talking about earlier about mentorship and everything and how your mother obviously is your mother and kind of served as that mentor and that push to pursue the path that you're on now for your career from your internship at Oak Ridge. And also I know you recently spoke at the Empower Her event hosted by SME and the Alliance for Working Together Foundation. So what taking all those experiences together, what does mentorship mean to you? And how do you hope to serve as a mentor yourself?
I cannot emphasize enough that a mentor is needed regardless of what you're going to do, whether it's in life, whether it's in career, in art, in whatever you want to do, you need a mentor. So I've had one every step of the way. It started with my mom, obviously, and then it went into adding on. It's never dropping one and then going on. It's everyone stays there and it's a community now that I have with me at all times. And it went to the professors that were there, the professor for that intro course. I ended up, working for her and being a TA in some of her labs and her courses and learning from there, so on and so forth. And then it was the director of the consortium, and then it was my mentor here as an intern, and then now colleague, and then it's all my colleagues sort of being my mentor as an early career individual, and so on. So I will always emphasize that mentors are what you need, and whether it's your mentor or not, it's just someone that you can ask for advice, and they can help you in that case, or give you some sort of guidance. And for me, I would love to be a mentor to somebody with what I've, gone through in life and in career and school and all this stuff. Um, and again, I did speak in the Empower Her program, which was wonderful. I loved it a lot, and hearing from other powerful, amazing women was also very enlightening. I loved it a lot. And I try to keep that momentum going, and so I've spoken to, a couple of classrooms here locally in Knoxville, Tennessee, and spoke about my career and my path as well, in their classroom. And then I've gone home a couple times because, again, the world is a little small over there, so I wanna let them know that they can go anywhere, do anything, that they set their mind to. So I've gone home, I've spoken at my university, I've spoken, at my middle school, actually, that I attended, and I will be speaking again in April, for another, 8th grade class. So I'm very excited about that, but I do love the mentorship and, hoping that I can give someone a little bit of a spark, to go for either engineering or, my whole thing is STEM. I think that we definitely need a lot of people in these fields. Engineering, manufacturing, I'm particular too, just because I went through it. But um, whatever it is, I would like to be a mentor, and it's if it's through life, if it's through getting into college, and then through college, but it's in a different field. Either way is something that I would like to spark interest in someone, in a student, hopefully.
Yeah, and clearly, your mentorship, your advocacy, your work is shining through because, you're recognized, like I mentioned last year, 2025, as a SME 30 under 30 honoree. So again, congratulations on that. And, how did it feel to be recognized?
Very validating. I tried, you can hear it from several people, and how, you're doing good work and you can see your products sort of, and especially here, I'm able to see the fruits of my labor with the parts that we print and sending them out and getting them tested and putting in real world applications and areas like that. So I do get to see it, but as you keep going, uh I think it's very validating and comforting when someone else recognizes it and without sort of letting me know, or as a, oh, I'm going to do this for you. To me it was like this was very natural, and it was something that someone else recognized and they decided to nominate me, and it wasn't until further on when really close to when I got the final um, email saying like, "Hey, you did indeed get this," that it kind of all settled in where it was like, okay, like I love my job. I've known that from when I started. I love this field. I love the work that I'm doing, the projects and all that stuff, but all of it kind of tied in together when that nomination came in, and then the selection. It was very emotional, sort of, because at that point, I was, almost about 2 years into this, that I was like, "Am I doing the right thing? Am I going the right way? Am I supposed to pivot? Like, where am I gonna go from here?" And when that dropped, it was kinda like, "You're doing the right thing," and, to kinda keep going. So it was a little bit of a comfort, a push, a validation. It was, so many positive things that I cannot emphasize enough how grateful I am to be recognized, in the SMEs 30 under 30.
Yeah, I love that you say that it was, it showed, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to do this work. It was validation for you. I love that the program was able to provide you with that, especially like you said early in your career. And just a quick plug to our 30 under 30 program. We do have nominations open for the 2026 program. So, to our listeners on right now, once this episode drops, there should definitely still be time to apply. Nominations are open until April 17th. And if you or someone you know is 30 or under and, forging paths in the manufacturing industry, whether as a student, whether as a professional, getting into your career and is just, continue to break those barriers, please definitely nominate. Self nominations are welcome. And all the information is on our website. Brittany, do you have any words of encouragement for, people submitting nominations for this year?
I would say, um, if you have an idea of someone, I would nominate. And it doesn't even have to be just one person. If you can sort of see all the work that's being done, it does not harm anyone to nominate these people. It is definitely an honor to get this and to be recognized as a 30 under 30 honoree. And I would also say that it will always play out well, and it is always worth it to participate in one of these things. And again, whoever is either self-nominating or nominating someone else is going to be completely worth it, and absolutely um, a game changer in their career as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely. Brittany, is there anything else regarding, your education, your career at Oak Ridge, or anything about the industry that you like to share?
I guess sort of to start with the school part of it with my education is to not be afraid to try something new, not be afraid to put yourself out there. Um, the world is, the world is huge, and the sky is forever. So there's so many things that you can do if you set your mind to it. And with the career, there's the same thing, is it's limitless. The sky is the limit. And if you want to keep climbing, keep climbing. I feel that every day that's what I try to do, is climb the ladder of this career. And I enjoy it very much. So just keep going and keep moving, and things will turn out for the best.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so so much, Brittany. Thank you for joining us today. You've shared lots of great insights that I'm sure anyone in their career, whether they're just starting out or they're veterans, I definitely believe that you provided some great insights to the conversation. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me again. This was a wonderful opportunity, and And I'm very happy that you reached out to me for this. And thank you.
Yeah, of course. I do have one last question for you. So, if listeners want to learn more about Oak Ridge National Laboratory, where should they go to get more information?
So a quick Google search sort of does the trick, but my facility is a lot different from the main lab. So if you wanted to just do an overall search of what Oak Ridge is, putting in Oak Ridge National Lab will put up a whole bunch of information, take you to the homepage. But I work in the manufacturing demonstration facility. We are a user facility. So if there's companies out there who would like to collaborate with us, or they want to do, work with their machine on our floor and do a little bit more innovation on that stuff, you can definitely look up Oak Ridge National Lab, MDF, Manufacturing Demonstration Facility. All those different little acronyms also work. And you can also email me, reach out to me at rodriguezba@ornl.gov. That's definitely a really quick and easy way to sort of get connected with us here. I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. The rest of my group as well, you can sort of find them on there. I am under the Composites Innovation group. And so that shouldn't be too hard to remember because we drive innovation and I work in composites. So, um, so yeah, several different ways that you can reach us. But again, if you want to kind of look at the overall thing, a really quick Google search will work.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you so much for kind of breaking that down as well for our listeners. And to keep up with the latest manufacturing trends and hearing more podcasts, subscribe to our podcast feed, listen wherever you get your podcasts from, and visit us at advancedmanufacturing.org.